So, hello, welcome to a presentation by PITPA, People's Technology PowerPoint Academy. This presentation is about firewall configuration common problems. My name is Peleg Holzman, and I will be your lecturer during this presentation. The first problem that you encounter when configuring firewalls that a lot of companies do is they allow any outbound traffic to any service. So they don't really monitor the types of outbound traffic that are going out of the firewall. They're concerned mostly with what's going into the firewall. The second problem that we found a lot of companies mistake they make involving firewalls is, in particular, they allow outbound peer-to-peer traffic. And here we have some examples of like uTorrent, Donkey, and some other torrent sites. So companies don't look at, again, we're looking at the same similar issue, outbound traffic, but we're not looking exactly at the types of outbound traffic. So in this case, we're looking more particularly at the peer-to-peer outbound traffic. And finally, the third type of mistake we see when firewalls are being configured is allowing SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, outbound from a large number of IP addresses. So these are the three main problems that are seen in firewall configuration. And now let's take a closer look at each one and what you can do to resolve them. Now, when we look at the first two, allowing outbound traffic from any service and allowing point-to-point traffic, in particular outbound, let's look at these two first in a little bit more detail. We have a network represented by these two computers. We have our firewall, which our network traffic is being channeled towards, and then we have our internet. This is a very simple network diagram, but it's pretty good to get this point across. Now let's say hypothetically we're blocking that inbound traffic. We're looking at the bad actors from getting into our network. We're looking at all that inbound traffic. We're letting out what we perceive to be the good traffic. On its face, this looks like a pretty normal configuration. Block the bad traffic from getting in, let the good traffic get out of your network. Pretty common sense right there. Now let's pretend we have a compromised zombie computer on our network. How it got on the network is not really important for this presentation, but let's assume it got there. Somebody plugged in a compromised USB drive. We're going to discuss this later on in other presentations about pen testing, but for now, let's assume it just happened. We've got a zombie computer on network. Over here in the cloud area, we've got our perceived command and control computer in the cloud, which our zombie computer is going to be getting its commands from, or so we think. This is actually where the problem lies. A lot of organizations today have the false assumption that the traffic from the command and control computer is coming from the outside of the internet into the zombie. The truth could not be farther from this. The truth is most zombie computers today actually have all of the command and control system criteria pre-built into the zombie code. So in reality, that zombie is already contacting outside traffic. But as you remember, in our drawing here, we're allowing outside traffic to go out. So we're not looking at the traffic coming out. So in this case, the point of this example is when you configure your firewall, you need to be concerned with not just the traffic coming into your network from the internet, but also the traffic going out of your network. So you need to be looking at your outbound traffic, not just inbound traffic. Now let's look at the third problem we commonly see in firewall configurations. Allowing outbound SMTP from many IPs. Now what does this mean? Let's assume in this hypothetical case, we have 3 zombie computers on our compromised network and they are spamming like crazy out through our firewall because remember, we're letting out SMTP traffic through our firewall. So in this example, we're allowing unlimited SMTP traffic to travel through our firewall unhindered, and essentially our zombie computers are now creating part of a spam network. So as an example of the bad way to configure this. Now let's take a look at our third problem again, outgoing SMTP traffic from multiple IPs on our network. Here we have our two zombie computers, and in this example we're going to introduce a clean computer that hasn't been turned into a zombie. The difference in this situation is that our clean computer is going to be sending its traffic to what is called an SMTP gateway server, which is this guy right here. So all mail traffic has to congregate through this server. Any traffic that tries to be sent directly to the firewall without entering our server first is blocked. So the moral of the story here is to use an SMTP central gateway server to handle all incoming and outgoing mail. Now again, in this example, this is a very simplified view, but the point of this brief presentation was to explain the three basic and most common problems found in firewall configurations. Closing, let's look at two lessons learned. The first one is whenever you are configuring or reviewing firewall rules, always look at the inbound and the outbound traffic. Consider both of them. Try and block as much unnecessary traffic as possible. In most network designs, which again we'll go over in more detail in other presentations, you're going to have multiple firewalls, usually covering multiple different zones in your network. So whenever possible, really understand, and this actually leads into the second lesson learned, which I'm going to present right now, is the 6 honest serving people questions from the SABSA model. And these questions actually help a lot in your firewall rules. These questions are what, why, when, how, where, and who. And when you look at this in perspective of a zone in your network, for example, what kind of data is contained in my zone? Is it PCI? Is it HIPAA? Is it new prototype information if you're an R&D company? What kind of data do I have? Why is it there? Why is it in the secure zone? Does it need to be in the secure zone? When will it be accessed? Are there certain times of day when the data will need to be accessed? The reason you want to ask when, for example, is that if you know that that data only needs to be accessed, if your office is only open 9 to 5 and you don't allow external telecommuting access to your network, guess what? Right there's a great firewall rule you have available. Well, I know that between the hours of 9 to 5, this data might need to be accessed. Otherwise, I can lock down that zone. Nobody gets into it. How is another example. How is the data accessed? Again, as they're telecommuting, do we have VPN access? Is it through fiber optics? Is it through Ethernet? Is it wireless? Is it satellite? Is it microwave? Where's the data stored? Is it overseas? There's a concept some companies aren't familiar with called data sovereignty. When you store data in another country, guess what? Those countries' laws now take effect upon your data. So even if you're headquartered in the US, but you put data in Germany or France or the United Kingdom, that country's laws now supersede the US's laws about that data. Data privacy, data transmission, data storage, all sorts of things come into play then. And who? Who is accessing the data? Do I need access lists? Is it public? What's the data classification? The point here is that you want to ask all these 6 questions on any project you're doing because they are hugely beneficial, and I speak from experience that when you ask these 6 questions, it will really, really help you out in your project. You'd be amazed about how much light can be shown on different areas of a project just by asking these questions. And you can tailor them to whatever audience you're dealing with really, really simply. So they're great questions to ask. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. Also, we have about 40 plus videos in the pipeline in pre-production going on now, but if you have any ideas, comments, topics you'd like to see discussed in more detail, please put them in the comment section. The comments do get read and ideas do get logged, and if there's something that we can execute, they will be put into the production pipeline. So, no idea is too silly and no technical area is too technical. So if you see something you like or you'd like to see something in the future, please put it down and we'll see about doing it. Thank you very much. We really, really appreciate the fact that you stopped by to watch our video, and we hope you have a good day. Thank you. Take care.